Ladies and gentlemen, Doc Rivers is out as head coach of the Los Angeles Clippers. Yes, Doc Rivers is no longer head coach of the LA Clippers. Now, it's been reported that the individuals, Doc Rivers and the Clippers organization came to this mutual agreement that they need to move on from each other, that they need to see other people, and that they were no longer the best for each other in that situation. But to me, all that is Doc Rivers read the writings on the wall. He felt the temperature in the room, and he knew he was no longer wanted within that organization. Especially after the world saw how LeBron James and Anthony Davis closed out a team that his team lost a 3-1 lead to in 5 games. After the world saw how LeBron James and Anthony Davis closed out the Denver Nuggets in great fashion in that last game, in 5 games too, he was like, oh no, they finna get me up out of here. They about to send me packing. So I'ma quit and get up out of here before y'all can fire me in the first place. We just gonna agree that I don't need to be here, and I'm gonna get up out of there. And that's what it is. He just didn't want to be fired, so he came to the mutual understanding that we need to part ways. And I remember when Doc Rivers and the Clippers first lost the series, I was hearing rumblings that Steve Ballmer was going to keep Doc Rivers on board. He was going to stay. He was going to stay around. And I'm looking like, man, look, if the Lakers beat the Denver Nuggets and they get these boys up out of here easily, oh, Doc Rivers is gone. I don't care what they're talking about. He gone up out of here. And sure enough, it happened. But Doc Rivers mutually agreed. Now I'm looking like, nah, he got up out of there because they knew he knew they was going to get him up out of there in the first place. And what's crazy is the world found out about Doc Rivers no longer being head coach via Doc Rivers' Twitter page. And I didn't even know that Doc even had a Twitter in the first place. I'm like, damn, Doc got a Twitter? I was today years old when I found that out. I'm like, I didn't even know he had a Twitter anyway, right? But before Doc could even tweet it out, ESPN senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski, aka Woj, confirmed that Doc Rivers and the Clippers were parting ways minutes before Doc's announcement. And I would say probably about 20 minutes later, Doc came on Twitter and he confirmed what Adrian Wojnarowski had reported in the first place. Now, me personally, I don't like celebrating the firing of someone because losing your job is no fun. I don't care who it is. Losing your job ain't fun at all. Even for people who are millionaires, I know it's not fun. I will only enjoy the firing of a person if that person is a vile or heinous individual, if that person is morally corrupt, or if that person is a bug dancing, butter biscuit eating Sambo. In other words, if that person is an adjective that rhymes with soon or tune. If a person is one of those individuals, then I don't give a damn about you getting fired at all. Good riddance. I don't care at all. I'm going to celebrate it too. I don't care. Right? But other than that, I don't celebrate a person's firing. But I do believe that this decision was the right decision for the Clippers organization. For real. It was the best decision that they could make. Like, listen, I'm going to say this. Doc Rivers is a good man. He seems like a really respectable person, a really admirable individual, and he's a guy that you could really respect for real. But I will never, and I'm going to say this, and I will never forget how he stood up and held the Clippers franchise together during the time that the world found out that Donald Sterling was a racist. When Donald Sterling's racism hit public airwaves and all of that, the way that Doc Rivers stood up and held the Clippers organization franchise together, that was admirable. And I'm never going to forget that. But I have to admit something, man. I see holes in Doc Rivers' coaching ability. I think Doc Rivers is a coach who is more suited to coach an underdog team and lead them out of obscurity and into inspirational runs, like how we did with last year's Clippers team. That Clippers team only had Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, Pat Bev, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who Doc Rivers did a hell of a job coaching up, right? He coached that bunch really, really well. But I think he relishes in a role like that, where his team is the underdog because there aren't any expectations for that team. Last year's Clippers team was not expected to make any noise, yet alone make the playoffs in the Western Conference. Nobody even expected them to make the playoffs in that Western Conference at all, and they did that. So I think Doc is better suited for those roles, coaching up a team that's an underdog team and leading them to a place that nobody expected. But I think it's easier for Doc to coach when there aren't huge expectations. I don't believe that Doc is suited to coach dynasty teams, in my opinion. I just don't. Because he couldn't get more than one title out of that Big Three bunch in Boston. He couldn't get more than one title out of that situation, and I think he should have, right? And I know most people are going to say those superstars in that Big Three were aging at that point, but they were still balling out. And I think that he could have gotten another title out of that situation, especially when they lost to the Lakers that following year after they won. I feel like they still could have won that championship, but Doc fell short in some areas, and they didn't win. I feel like they still could have won that chip, and I'm like, man, why they didn't pull that off? They was really supposed to go back to back for real, right? In my opinion, Doc Rivers is more of an inspirational leader. He's a motivator, similar to Coach Calipari, John Calipari at University of Kentucky, right? I think he is of that ilk. I think he's a guy who's going to motivate top talent to play. He's going to get you to go out and play hard, and he's going to get you to go out and give it your all. And he probably going to strike gold one time, just like Coach Cal did with that 2012 team at Kentucky with Anthony Davis and what's the boy name? MKG. They got drafted by Charlotte, just like Coach Cal did, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, right? But just like Coach Cal, I don't think Doc Rivers is much of a strategy or an X's and O's type of coach, and which leads to him falling short in areas where he's supposed to achieve something. He underachieves in certain situations. Like, there is no way that Coach Cal had Devin Booker and Karl Anthony Towns and them on that squad and he couldn't pull that off. He was bringing Devin Booker off the damn bench. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, Coach Cal could not make adjustments in certain situations, which is why he had all these loaded teams and they couldn't win, in my opinion. And I think this is kind of the similar situation with Doc Rivers and the LA Clippers, right? In the series that he had against the Denver Nuggets, he was outcoached, and it showed his inabilities to make adjustments when his team was getting thrashed. A head coach is supposed to be able to fix the bleeding, right? When stuff is going wrong, he's supposed to be figuring out a way to fix the situation and fix the problem so that his team can press forward. But Doc wasn't able to do that. Doc's team, this Clippers team this year, lost several 15-plus point leads to the Denver Nuggets. And they didn't even know how to stop it. They couldn't stop the bleeding at all. They were just out there just looking like fish out of water, and the Denver Nuggets was balling on them, right? And I know the Denver Nuggets led comebacks against the Los Angeles Lakers, but eventually they figured it out and they fought through and they were able to get the job done. Something that Doc Rivers' team wasn't able to do. Additionally, I think Doc Rivers' rotations are not that good either, in my opinion. I don't think that either. And, you know, I was watching the Clippers series with the Denver Nuggets. It was times when Kawhi was getting doubled and triple teamed them last couple of games, and Doc could not make adjustments for it at all. Their offense was looking pretty bad during the stretches where Denver was making them big runs. Denver making these big old runs, and the offense of the Clippers is just looking bad. Like, it wasn't just guys just missing shots. It wasn't even just that. It was that the offense was looking like this. All right, you take a shot. Your turn taking a shot. Okay, it's your turn now. I took my shot. It's your turn. Now it's your turn. It was looking like that. Him and Paul George going back and forth. Your turn, my turn. It was no offensive strategy, no offensive schemes put in place. And I'm looking like, damn, they really out here about to sink on national TV like this. And that's exactly what they did. They didn't really have no offensive schemes displayed on Doc's part. I also believe that a head coach should know how to manage the morale and mentality of his team in great fashion, right? I believe that Doc doesn't have much control over his locker room and his team's mindset. He don't have control over his team's mindset or the locker room, and that was evident to me years and years ago when he let Rajon Rondo do what he wanted to do. When he was attacking and taking digs at Ray Allen while they were still teammates, taking shots at Ray Allen in the locker room and all of that. And basically, Doc Rivers just let it ride and let it play out and let it happen, right? He didn't even find a way to dead or dissolve the situation. He just let it ride, and it got worse than what it was. And that was revealed from inside. That was revealed from inside information from Kendrick Perkins and Ray Allen himself, right? He let Rondo just do what he wanted to do, act wild and act uncontrollably, and Doc Rivers cannot get control of his team's morale, mentality, none of that. He just let them basically just do what they wanted to do, and the chemistry fell to the wayside, right? Fast forward to this year's Clippers team. Doc couldn't control his team's aura. He couldn't control their mindset when they was acting like they had already won the championship already during the entire season. They were super cocky and arrogant, like they already had won something. I feel like he let them feel like all they had to do was worry about the Lakers, and that's it. As long as they worried about the Lakers, they was just going to be all right. All y'all got to do is practice for the Lakers, play against the Lakers, get up for the Lakers every day. As long as y'all get up for the Lakers, we good. He let them think that. And that's what led to their demise as well. And that was just a big mistake for real. Because they didn't even see the Denver Nuggets coming, and they got shell-shocked out there, for real. Lastly, I just feel like it was time for a new voice and new presence in the Clippers locker room, y'all. Y'all remember how when Lovie Smith was with us for so long and we went to the Super Bowl with Lovie Smith? I'm talking about, the Chicago Bears organization. When we had Lovie Smith as head coach, we went to the Super Bowl. We was loving Lovie, and eventually things started to go south. We weren't making playoffs anymore. We really couldn't make deep runs. We were struggling. It was like a lot of iffy years. And his last year, he went 10-6, which would have went to the playoffs in other divisions, but in the NFC North, we wasn't in the playoffs, and we fell out of the playoffs, even with a 10-6 record. And the Bears parted ways with Lovie. Even though he had a 10-6 record, it was just time for a new voice, a new person to spark morale and speak life into the locker room and galvanize these players, right? And I think that's the situation in LA. Doc had been there for 8 years, and he had yet to make a Western Conference Finals when he was there. With all that talent he had during them years, like them Lob City years when he had Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, in addition to this stacked team that he had this year, right? He couldn't get it done. He couldn't even get to the Western Conference Finals. And my dad was like, damn, Doc and them be having all that talent with the Clippers organization. He can never make no run that he's supposed to make. Especially this year, where everybody had them as the favorites to win due to their depth on paper. We're looking like, look how deep this team is. Look how deep this team is. They got all these dogs here and there. They got a dog for this situation, a dog for that situation. They gonna be good. Everybody thought that. Rob Parker, all the rest of these journalists on TV, like, oh, the Lakers gonna get smoked. The Clippers beating everybody. That was just the consensus. And I think they let that go to their head, and they didn't pull it off. They started thinking they won a championship already and was buying into the hype that all these talking heads in the media was feeding them. Also, Doc has blown 2-3-1 leads with two different talented teams. Doc is a good coach, man, but he has severely underachieved given the talent his teams have had. I'm sorry, it is what it is, man. I don't feel too bad for Doc though, because he will probably be employed before the end of this week. I'm telling y'all, Philadelphia or New Orleans probably gonna snag him up, and they're gonna have him as their head coach, which will probably bode well for them because they are a team that, well, the 76ers don't have. They have some expectation, but that situation with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid is not going to work. They're going to have to figure something out and get something shaking because that's just not going to work in my opinion. But I know New Orleans don't have much. New Orleans do have some expectations with Zion and Brandon Ingram playing so well. I think he can coach a bunch like that up to do good things, to probably even, make it to the second round or do something and make something shake. But a team, he probably could even coach them to a Western Conference Finals or something. I don't know. But a team that's expected to be a championship team with big expectations, Doc cannot lead them to that promised land. I take that back. I don't think they're going to go to the Western Conference Finals if he gets on New Orleans. But they could possibly make it to the second round, make a lot of noise, have people talking. Doc good for that. He's good for leading a team that's not expected to go that far deep and, have everybody talking about him and have them excited and so on and so forth. But he is not capable, in my opinion, of leading a dynasty. He's not fit for that. He going to strike gold one time or something like that, but it ain't going to fall through them other times, man. Kind of like I said, Coach Cal in the situation. But, best of luck to Doc Rivers going forward. I believe he's going to either get the Philly or New Orleans job. That's just me, but I see it happening. But it is what it is. Doc Rivers is out as head coach of the LA Clippers. Machiavelli Mills TV, thank y'all for rocking with me. Like the video. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Comment on the video and so on and so forth. Peace.